How do I get work done? That is often a question I ask myself, and I'm not really sure if I know the answer, but I definitely have a space in my apartment which is supposed to facilitate work, and it has changed quite a bit over the past few months. So this is going to be a little office desk setup tour brought to you by Flexispot, and I'm really excited to show you around this mess of a room. And indeed, it is a mess. Cables, tech items, camera equipment, displays, lights, everywhere. This space is a reflection of me. Just a mess that somehow comes together to create a cohesive product or person, somehow, some way. And I want to first bring your attention to these gorgeous desks. And yes, this video is sponsored, but I have had these desks since February. Flexispot was kind enough to send me them, and we just now got around to collaborating to show them off to you here. And I use these desks for two specific purposes, as you can see here, one for a desk setup and one for a top-down rig, which I first want to get into. And this static setup is a bit of a newer thing. I used to have one when I was living at my parents' house and when I initially moved in here, but I stopped using one because I felt like it was sort of stagnating my creative process, like I was overly reliant on top-down footage and just the same static angle. So for the past year or so, I've been shooting more outside, you know, more in my living room, which has been nice, but it's definitely more work. And while I like to do that and will continue to, you gotta have a permanent setup. You gotta have sort of a static shot ready to go at all times, especially when you have a school work-life schedule like I do, which is constantly chaotic. I don't even know how I get anything done. So the fact that I have this all ready to go when I need it for face camera footage and top-down footage is wonderful, and I'll kind of show you how I shoot it or have been shooting it for the time being. For starters, I'm using some kind of aperture knockoff from Amazon with a diffuser, of course, which casts light onto the desk setup that I do top-down shots or demo shots from. It also casts light on my face when I sit down in this chair, also made by Flexispot, by the way. As for face cam footage, I use the FX30. I just picked this puppy up. It's really wonderful. It is crop, but I use a 16mm Sigma f1.4. And it's perfect. It gets the entire A-roll frame that I want. That light on the left here should not be in the frame, but it's usually not. But yeah, this thing is great. It has a fan. It does not overheat. I have a little tally light whenever I'm recording, so I can see that it's recording, which is great when you have some form of OCD like I do, worrying about if the camera's recording. I've shot whole videos where I've forgotten to press record, so it's a fun time. But yeah, we also, again, have this light, which shouldn't be in frame. It's a key light, I believe. I don't know the specific term, but it casts warm light onto my face here. Actually, we can probably get the view here. So this is the top-down view, first and foremost. I'm shooting that with the A7S III plugged into HDMI so I can see what I'm doing. And of course, I have a zoom lens right here, which allows me to zoom out and in when I'm demoing a certain product, which is pretty helpful. So this is where I look when I'm looking off to the side, because I'm sort of seeing what I'm doing with a given product, specifically iPhones and iPads, where I'm touching the touch screen on them or whatever. So that's how I know what I'm doing. But again, before I got sidetracked, I can bring you to the other view here. I have the Samsung monitor / TV that I use so I can switch inputs. And here we have, oh, you know what? I actually have to plug the HDMI plug in here. That would be smart. Done. So yeah, this is my static A-roll shot here with my desk set up in the background and a bunch of other stuff too. And although I have this tripod permanently fixed here, kind of, I do move the camera on and off to use it for B-roll and other projects, so I like to be able to make sure everything that's supposed to be in frame is, like that picture frame in the corner there, that's meticulously done. Also in the background, there's some stuff on my desk right now that I'd normally take off, so if I saw it on screen, I'd do that, but for now, I'm trying to keep this video as real as possible because this place is often a mess, and you should be able to see that. But also too, I like to make sure that I don't look like a mess, even though I am a mess inside. I want to make sure that my hair doesn't look too bad, or I don't have anything in my teeth, or my shirt isn't wrinkled, or whatever. I look presentable for a YouTube video. But I more so use this display, again, if I haven't already said this, for the top-down angle coming from my camera mounted up here, which is normally an A7S. So I can switch to that with my remote here on this Samsung TV. I believe this is an M7. It's like a monitor / TV. And here we are. Here we have this top-down shot on this beautiful Flexispot desk with a bamboo surface. That's the first thing I want to touch on, even though this is a standing desk with standing desk functions. The surface is just gorgeous. I used to use this IKEA tabletop for top-down, if you remember, way long ago. But this looks cheap. This is absolutely gorgeous and more nuanced, and I like the color more, so it really does make for gorgeous top-down shots, whether I'm talking about a phone or an iPad here. And, oh, it just turned off, so I have to, oh no, oh. I'm not gonna stop recording this. This is like the 50th take of this one portion of the video. So here we have, again, my top-down shot. I can zoom in with the zoom lens, so voila. And I normally do when I'm doing a little demo, so I can just bring some stuff up here, and I can like look off to the side. Once again, like this is my head, the camera is my head. I can like look back at the camera and look here and just be interacting with the product, making sure that I'm tapping or just showing things properly, because when you can't see yourself using a product, it'll often not turn out the way you want in post. And then when I want to talk to you guys, or I want to switch to the other angle in post, I will of course switch back to this when I'm doing multicam editing. So when I'm talking to you, sort of having a conversation with the viewer, I will make sure to look at the camera, and then when I look back down at the product in post, I will switch back to this angle, if that makes sense. But again, when I'm shooting, I, for the most part, have this view on here just to make sure I know what I'm doing. And again, I will mention this Flexispot tabletop is just perfect for the videos that I shoot, whether I'm covering phones, laptops, tablets, AirPods, watches, all of that. Really nice and expansive, to the point where I can have my lens zoomed out to 24 and I have no problem. I have no like edges that are getting in the way, and I can zoom all the way in and of course reveal more of this beautiful bamboo wood grain. I also record audio to a Zoom H6 connected to XLR, which is plugged into an MKE 600. For those of you who do know, it is like the baby brother, pretty much almost MKH 416, which is like $1,000 shotgun mic that's amazing. For those of you who don't care or don't know, this is a really good mic, and I have it fixed right here, pointed at me, so when I'm talking, you can hear what I'm talking about. And I also don't have to wear a lav, which is nice, even though I normally do when I'm not shooting in here. But for a fixed setup, where I'm sitting in front of a camera, having a fixed shotgun mic is a must. Oh, and while we're still over here, I want to show off one of the chairs that I use here for this A-roll setup. This is a 3D lumbar support chair from Flexispot. In the gray color, you can move this little lumbar support thing up and down, which is nice. It is a great chair to sit in for hours at a time when I am shooting A-roll. So whenever I shoot a video, I sit here for a good hour or two, because it's just me constantly screwing up with demos or what I'm saying. And then I take that footage from the SD cards from here, from there, and from my audio recording, and I bring it over here to the other Flexispot desk, holding all of the tools that I use to, again, edit here. First and foremost, the MacBook Pro 16-inch attached to a studio display with some peripherals, pretty predictable, honestly. Apple Magic Keyboard and trackpad, and the MX Master, which is my go-to editing mouse. And yeah, this is where I sit for hours and cut down videos that you see on YouTube. And here we have a closer look here. I use the Magic Trackpad to zoom in and out of my timeline, and also to do just some gestures within macOS. We have the MX Master that I can use to do some side scrolling in Final Cut here. And here is, of course, my A-roll angle in all of its glory edited, and then here is the top-down angle edited, so I switch back and forth, and also throw in some B-roll as well. Let's see if I can find some. Oh, this is the end of the video, so I can zoom out here, Command Plusing that. So we have the multicam thing, and then we have B-roll that shows up fleetingly when it's needed, but here we have the multicam angles here that I can switch to and from sort of in real time when I'm playing it, so I kind of have to watch the video and see when I want to cut. If that makes any sense at all here. And then of course we have my MacBook Pro off to the side, connected via USB-C. I do use the speakers in this monitor, but I also use the Audio-Technica MX, or not MX, what the hell are these called? These are the Audio-Technica M50Xs. Yes, I've had these for years, at least this specific model. I had to get a new pair because the ear cups got real gross. And the frame got bent because I threw them because I got frustrated editing a video, I think. But that's not the point. These are great for just monitoring audio to make sure that you sound good or that your mic isn't clipping or whatever here. We have lamps on the desk as well. But I do want to talk about the desk again. This specific model is a little different from the one that I'm linking you to. This one's a tiny bit more expensive. It has more of a premium little like display here that you can use to adjust the height. But that's the next thing I want to demo here. So whether you go with the specific frame that I have or the frame that I've linked, you still get really wonderful standing desk functionality here. So I often like to do this when I'm working late and I don't want to fall asleep. It's also nice to do this during the day when you just want to get up and work and not be slouched over in your chair. just feeling unhealthy. It's wonderful to stand and do your work, especially if you're just sitting or standing for hours going over, video files or thumbnails or, that's my specific workflow. But, emails, if you have a desk set up specifically for more productivity oriented tasks, web-based stuff, all of that, I'm often answering emails here, typing stuff up, researching, multitasking here. Let's see if I can find something. Like I have a Notion window set up here. So, if I don't want to feel gross sitting down for hours at a time, I will raise this desk pretty high up, and it goes pretty high up as well here. It's also nice to lean on. It's very, very sturdy. And yeah, I really enjoy it. And of course, you can bring it back down to sitting level when you're ready here. Very smooth, very stable, and yeah, it works for everything that I have on here, and I have quite a bit of stuff on this desk, specifically a heavy monitor, I will say. The Studio Display is no cheap plastic monitor. It's like 20 plus pounds. So also something I'll say is that I hate when monitors, specifically when they're on stands, like a VESA mount, will shake. This thing, even though of course, it's a desk, and if you shake it hard enough, the thing is on your desk will shake. Regular just tapping and typing doesn't do that, whereas with different desks that I've used, you would definitely see that, and that would drive me nuts. I also want to again touch on the size of this desk. My specific model is 55 by 28, although the model that I have linked is 60 by 30. And I'm telling you right now, this and a little bit bigger is wonderful because you have a lot of space to just rest your stuff. As you can see here, I have a desk mat, I have some extra space here, and then I have enough space for some extra stuff here and my monitor, which is on a stand, its own stand, once again, not like clipped to the desk with like a VESA mount. This is the way I like it, and I love having extra space to just rest my forearms, so I'm not like cramped like this and have like my wrist on like the corner of a desk. I don't like that. So the space that I have here works wonderfully for when I'm editing and just resting my palms and just arms working for hours and hours. And also too, it works beautifully when I'm doing top-down footage over here, again, with this beautiful bamboo surface, which you can get on this specific spec of desk as well. You get actual buttons on the console where you control, which is nice, more tactile, I would say. This specific spec, it's more of like capacitive touch, which you may like or not like. But again, though, it should be equally sturdy, equally high quality. And again, the surface is going to be the same, this beautiful bamboo that I keep raving about. So besides the main attractions here, this A-roll / top-down setup here, and my actual desk setup that I do most of my creative work on these gorgeous Flexispot desks that I will again link in the video description, what else is going on in this room? First up, we got this artwork here, which I didn't intentionally like put here for show, even though it shows up in my A-roll, and I kind of love that. This was made by my best friend Mason. It is of my favorite building in the world, so he made this in Photoshop. It's really cool, shout out to him. I have an original iPhone frame from a company called Grid Studios. I'll leave a link to them as well. And then I have this thing that I made when I was 16. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes it stronger. I should read that more often. I love Daft Punk too. Off to the left here, we have a little Think Different poster. Of course, my entire life revolves around Apple. I have to have yet another Apple thing framed on the wall. We have my YouTube 100K plaque that arrived a year late. We have an iMac G4, I believe, which is just a gorgeous piece of art and also a gorgeous piece of tech that I love so much. We have some Apple boxes, we have some books and magazines and who knows what else, cables on the floor, boxes, a filing cabinet, more tech, an old display for some reason. And then we have a little designated spot for thumbnails where I will use like my Alpha 1 or an A7 IV to shoot thumbnails on a tripod that I have a MagSafe thing attached to right now. So I'm not gonna demo how I use my camera, but as you can imagine, let's just pretend my iPhone is the camera. I will set up something here. This is the ideal angle for lighting. I also have a secondary light here to illuminate more of the scene. And then I will get a shot, in one of these sort of angles here of a laptop or an iPad or, whatnot. And that's sort of where I get my thumbnails from. I take the picture, I put it on the computer over there, and then I will normally sort of cut out the product and then just sort of add a background and some shadows and whatever. That's how my thumbnails work. I also shoot them out there in my living room, but this is pretty convenient as well, ready to go, always clean. And then over here, we have this mess. This is my growing collection of original Apple firmware products. Let me reword that. I buy old iPhones and I specifically look for ones with original firmware on there. And I'll switch to 1X actually, that'll probably look better. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is an iPhone 2G running 1.0 firmware, so original iPhone. If we go into settings and go to about, so general and then about, you can see we have 1.0 firmware, which is super cool because this is basically what you were running in 2007 when you got this iPhone from AT&T locked, and it just brings you back. It brings you a level of nostalgia that iOS 3 wouldn't, because you know, if you have the most recent update on here, it doesn't feel authentic to, again, the day you could get it, the day that it came out. Here's another example. We have the iPhone 4 running iOS 4, so I would have been 10 at the time. I had an iPod Touch running iOS 4 as well, so this is very nostalgic. We have the iPod app instead of the music app, which I can show you on a white phone that I have here. This is a 5S running iOS 5, so we have the original Siri happening here. And of course the music app that was new that year, an 8-megapixel camera. Anyway, I'm just going on a tangent. It's nice to see these phones in their original sort of look, or with the original OS that they shipped with. It just adds to nostalgia. So most of these devices are original firmware, especially if they are sealed. So I have like an iPod Touch here sealed. I bought this because, you know, I remember unboxing this exact iPod with the exception of the size when I was 10. So I'm a huge nostalgia person. I love these devices. Of course, they bring me back in time. They also bring me back to when I wanted these and couldn't have them. So that's another component here. So I have iPads, iPhones, and then of course newer Apple products over here that I frequent, you know, so the iPad 10th gen, iPad Airs, other stuff over here, some iPhones. So here's like the iPhone 14. So I just have a mess of products on this table, and then I have even more stuff down here. Retro Max hidden behind here, a little the precursor to the studio display, the cinema display back here, some camera bags, some more iPhone frames that I have to put up here, and just stuff. And then, you know, more stuff, a trash bag. This is a fun one. This is where I keep all of my camera gear. So we have the A7 IV, the Alpha 1, my collection of glass, some gimbals and stuff, which I don't really use all the time, but I probably should. Little lens sensor cleaner, some more crap, and just boxes and more stuff. This is embarrassing, but yeah, this is where I put my camera gear. So yeah. Again, this space is very much a reflection of me, all the things that I love, the tech and tools that I use, and just the level of organization. There's stuff everywhere. The cables aren't managed, all of that. Speaking of which, there's a cable management accessory that Flexispot sent my way. I would definitely use it if I cared enough. So, you know, if you're not a psycho, definitely consider using this accessory. But yeah, I just kind of make do. I have so many cool pieces of technology to cover, so many great tools, but you know, my level of organization is definitely interesting. It honestly kind of, you know, made me delay shooting this video, but then I thought like, no, y'all got to see what I'm doing here. And hopefully some of you can relate to just sort of how I do things around here. It's organized chaos. That is my life. That is my job. And again, your workspace is a reflection of you, so I wanted to keep it authentic. I hope you enjoyed this. This is definitely a different video from what I normally do. Check out or just wait for some more content that I'm gonna post with regard to Black Friday and the holiday season, all of that. I'm gonna be probably covering the Apple Watch Ultra more and some iPads more, Macs, all of that. I definitely got to do a full review of the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max coming soon. These devices have been really integral in my life, so stay tuned for that. And again, too, check out my links to Flexispot in the video description and in a pinned comment, I'm sure. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.